I've always been a fan of horror films. When I was about 8 years old, I think my brother showed me Friday the 13th 2 and John Carpenter's The Thing, and I was just completely addicted right off the bat. And that summer, I went to summer camp, and the counselors told us to stay away from this one cabin or else Hatchet Face would get us. And I was all into this stuff, so I was like, this is awesome, what's he gonna do? They just said, well, he'll get you. I'm like, with what? And they didn't have an answer. So that night when everybody went to sleep, I made up this story to the other kids because they were all whispering, do you think Hatchet Face is gonna get us? And I was like, yo, you know who Hatchet Face is? Maybe it was this deformed boy and the house got lit on fire and the dad came home with an axe and all this stuff. All the kids started crying and the counselors were gonna send me home from camp and they called my parents. And for about 20 years, I kind of sat on that story just waiting for this moment. But an 8-year-old really thought of this, and I don't know what that means, but it worked.
The hardest part wasn't actually making the film. The hardest part was proving to other people that you could make the film.
Sarah Elbert, one of the producers on the show, was just so convinced that we could get this thing made that she convinced Adam and I to go to New Orleans with just a palm quarter and a brilliant idea to shoot a teaser trailer to create a whole package for this movie that we wanted to get financed and get shot.
We were getting a lot of, oh, you can't do this. You've never done it before? Well, then why do you think you can do it?
And so we said, well, let's buy plane tickets and let's all meet in New Orleans and let's go on a swamp tour and we'll get the footage and we'll do this. And it's funny because now I'm laughing because what's so great about that? But when you're that poor, like, it was an investment. It was like, all right, we paid for this. Like, we have to make this movie now because we had spent a few $100s. And that was really when it became real.
It was only intended to just prove to a couple of people that we do have the skills to be able to put something together that looks good.
It was just like a regular alligator tour. And the whole time, Will is leaning over the side with his camera. And the tour guide's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, nothing, we're fine. We're just trying to get these shots that we wanted. And then we came home and we started putting everything together. But we needed to tell the story of Victor Crowley, and we needed a voiceover for that.
He wanted a little child's voice.
Once upon a time, there was a boy named Victor Crowley.
A friend of mine had a son and a daughter, and I had asked him, you know, do you think that we would be able to come over to your house and record Eleanor? She was probably like 3 or 4 at the time. And she couldn't read, but her voice was just so amazing. And we sat in her room with, like, princess fairies, like, painted all over the walls. Folks weren't too kind to Victor.
Folks weren't too kind to Victor.
And I'm just listening in the headphones thinking, like, this is frightening, like, this little girl's voice. And that was what we used. And even now in the theatrical trailer, like, it's Eleanor's voice that we recorded off of a DV camera, I think, in a little kid's bedroom 3 years ago now.
We sent the teaser trailer all over the place and everybody loved it.
Actually, when we were finished, there was crazy rumors all over the internet that the movie had already been shot, and that's when we knew that we had done a good job.
Somebody sent me a link and they're like, there's a horror website talking about Hatchet. And this guy, Ryan Rotten, just for whatever reason had blind faith and went out on a limb and just said, you know, I'm gonna get behind this one and call it real. And then all the other ones started calling it real.
It was kind of promoting itself as a return to the slasher genre, and I was really excited about that since I'm a big fan of Halloween and Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street above all. And me being me, I contacted the website and was like, hey, who are you and how do I know more? Being able to talk to Adam and Sarah and get updates on how things are going. It was a kind of a nifty way to bridge that gap between online journalist and filmmaker. Usually there's a big gap. And they embraced us.
He's become a really great friend. We have a whole group of friends that just really enjoy making these movies and hanging out and support Adam and support Hatchet, and he's one of them.
There's so many guys that came, like, I mean, Fangoria was great, Bloody Disgusting, Brad Miska over there, like, one of his quotes is on the actual trailer, and they just embraced it, and they got behind it, and they supported it, and they're really the ones that got the movie made. Because even for the investors, I know it helped to say, here, just Google Hatchet and see what happens.
It ended up selling the film and ended up helping us sell the film.
The big thing that really made it real for me when we first got to, everything was in place, Hatchet was gonna happen, we were gonna shoot it, was we got our production office.
Production stuff will be in here. There's a refrigerator, a little sink, we'll have a coffee pot in there. This is our copy room, so all our copy and fax and prayers and stuff will be in here.
We have a copy room?
We do. It's amazing.
You know it's legit when you have a copy room.
Now,
Because once we got the money, it was kind of like, oh, now we got to make a movie. And it's got to be good.
Someone give me $1 million, I could do it, I could blah, blah, blah. I was that guy until they handed me $1 million. And
Then we realized it wasn't enough.
Really scared, because it's not enough.
I think the first day that everybody was like, oh, here we go, we're on a ride, was our location scout.
So, the other thing that happens here is after the two of them move up to the barn.
I didn't realize how he knew every scene of this movie.
This is all done in a lockdown wide shot where the edge of the frame is right behind our cast who's standing facing this way.
Up and down, backwards, forwards, every single angle, he had it in his head.
Gets up, turns to run, and then boom, into Kylie's chest. He looks up. Kylie takes his head like this, so now our camera will be here.
And you can see he's in his head, and he goes, and then we'll have the camera here, we'll have the camera there, and we'll go down here. He's just a maniac.
Back in 2004, Adam said, hey, we're going to go out and meet Kane Hodder. So we went out there, and Adam he was like a little kid in the car on the way over there, so excited he was going to meet Kane Hodder.
And I was asking Sarah and Corey, is it cool if I bring all my Jason shit and have them sign it? And they're like, no, don't do that. You got to be cool. Don't be a fanboy.
We talked about everything. I mean, I guess, he had, been, I don't know, I'm not really a fan, for lack of a better term, of the stuff I had done before. And we just talked about the movie, talked about the character itself, and the fact that Buechler was doing the makeup. It was all a pretty obvious thing that I would have to do it. Plus, it's a character. Granted, it's in heavy makeup, but he also Adam offered the incentive of playing that character's father in a flashback as myself. So, I really liked that idea because I had been trying to do more characters outside the makeup as well. Even though I'll always like wearing the makeup, I just wanted to do, something with my regular scary face.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for everything. This is wonderful. I'll see you next week. Bye. I don't know who I am right now. Oh my God. Yeah, that was cool. He's all right. I think it'll work.
So it's going to be fun. I got, buddies in this, Tony Todd and Kane Hodder. We've worked together before. I think Kane and I were on the cover of Rolling Stone together, so it's kind of fun to see all the old ghouls together, Candyman and Jason and Freddy.
Tony Todd.
What do you want?
I went by the set of a movie that Buechler was doing because I wanted him to look at the budget for Hatchet. I said to Buechler, I'm like, how could we possibly get him to be Reverend Zombie in Hatchet? Because for Hatchet 2, that's a huge part. He would be perfect.
I have to go tend to my birds.
So yeah, it was nice to reunite with the Fab Three, I guess.
And I had Jason, Freddy, and Candyman in my slasher movie.
And it was great having all of us together, especially when I got to kill most of them.
Yeah, so as far as casting goes, everybody came in, everybody earned their part because everybody auditioned for their part, except for Deon.
He contacted me, and he was like, I love your work, I'm a fan of it. You'd be perfect for this role.
But we didn't even see anybody else from Marcus because I always knew it was going to be him.
It was a very fun process in the fact that clearly the majority of the audition scenes were the comedic elements of it. Parry Shen, when he came in, he just had us.
It's the gist of it. That's not even the house.
Say bye.
It was kind of like one of those best auditions that could happen. You do something and the audience, the people who are there just laugh. And they were just cracking up. And they were cracking up so hard that I was having to sort of take a moment because I was starting to crack up. And that doesn't happen very often.
And the girls would come in and they would do, or whoever would come in and do their audition. And afterwards, they'd leave, we'd say thank you. And I'd just look straight over to Adam and I would be like, do you want to spend a month with this person in the swamp? And that's pretty much how we cast Hatchet, was deciding on whether or not their personality, like, could they hang? Because we were going to be shooting at nights, in the cold, in the wet, in the swamp.
I was a good judge of character, and I picked the people that I really wanted to be with, because I was so picky about everything, especially the roles of Misty and Jenna, because here you got two parts that require nudity, and granted, it's very funny nudity.
Hey, who wants to be in the Halloween video? Come on, girls.
It's not like it's these weird sexual situations or something. It's a parody of Girls Gone Wild.
So he didn't really work for Girls Gone Wild?
I'm thinking no. Dude must just pretend he's a producer to make his own little private collection.
That fucking pervert! God, why are guys such slime? I can't believe I've fallen for that 3 times now.
You know, it's always kind of an uncomfortable thing walking into a room with 5 people and you're by yourself, and then, you know, but he made it really comfortable, and we had other friends in common, so he made me feel really welcomed.
And I could just tell that he was very passionate, and this is something that he had wanted to do his whole life, and he had been waiting for the right moment. He was looking for the right people to play his parts. Thank God it was me.
I bet this means Shapiro was here.
What a genius. You do know the vibrator goes in your cooch and not your ear, right?
Hey, why don't you suck your dad off again, bitch?
I will right after you're done.
Fine.
Good.
Good.
Thank you, that was great.
In real life, neither one of them is like that. They're just like the sweetest girls you'd ever meet. And then Tamara Feldman, we had seen every girl in Hollywood for Mary Beth at that point.
And they say that it was Victor crying for his daddy to help him. And they say that he still wanders around the woods at night with that hatchet across his face.
And she just had this aura about her where she's so beautiful, but you're afraid she might kick the shit out of you or something.
And it was a lot of fun auditioning, and we kind of just clicked in the audition room, you know, with Adam. I mean, I guess because she gets to kick ass and she gets to chase the monster, she's kind of fights back.
We were seeing basically every guy you would expect to see as the leading guy, romantic interest in a horror movie. And they were all coming in and they were good. And then Joel David Moore walks in. I'm like, is he gonna read for Ainsley? Because Josh Leonard already has that part. And she said, no, he's reading for the lead. And I was like, okay. And Joel starts, and by the time he was done, I was like, he's the lead. I'm like, that's the guy.
Once he starts talking, you're just in love. He's so charismatic on screen, and just like, you want to root for somebody like that.
She tells me she needs space. What does that even mean in girl language? Space. Whatever. Get my mind off. This was the perfect situation because I also wanted to play the title or the lead character in a film. So it was just, it was beneficial on all sides of it, plus the fact that the script was hilarious.
And I know there's horror purists who say they don't want any comedy in their horror movies. I don't really like that either. Like, but as long as you keep the comedy out of the horror, it's a different situation.
And it sounds bizarre because this movie is scary and very violent, but the scenes that don't involve Victor are very funny. And the way they're written and the way they're performed.
Come on, you freak! You look like you've been molested by wolves!
I think it's just the reality of being scared is funny. It's just hilarious. If you really look at all the situations in all the old movies, it just wasn't anyone there to say, wait a minute, he's coming from that same room. Why are you going back there?
What can you see from up there?
I can see ain't no dead elephant man coming to get me.
So I think he really grasped that aspect, which is the audience. We always did that for the movie. We what are you doing going left, right? I think he put the audience in the movie by using my character. So I think it's perfect. I loved it.
We're supposed to be here right now, man. Just be looking at some titties, man. What's wrong with us? Shit.
And then you got the Joel Murrays and the Richard Reilys, who are just these classic actors.
Well, what do you know, Lovekins? We've got ourselves a director over here.
How exciting. What kind of movie is it?
Well, have you ever heard of Bayou Beavers?
Sure. No.
That was the beauty of Hatchet, is the fact that it was a horror film, but it was also infused with 45 minutes of essentially a comedy that got pushed in and slammed into a horror film.
I think he brought it back to where you can really be truly scared of the main character. You can sympathize with him a little bit, but even the sympathy makes you understand he's crazier than you can deal with.
You can't get any better than this. I mean, the characters are so rich and so funny. Everybody connects to them, And Adam has that visual language. He knows how to generate a scare. He does. That's really cool.
We're not in enough trouble that you had to scare the pants off everyone, too?
I think the way it is written, you do have sympathy and you actually care about the characters that are getting killed, and you might even have sympathy for Victor based on the story structure.
Victor was scared to death of other kids. They teased him and tortured him like kids do. They were so cruel.
Hey, cut!
I was honestly, the first day of production was the first time I'd ever been on a film set. So I walked onto set, and it felt like a big movie. Everyone really got excited about this movie, so they took every favor that they had.
In my camera department, we just had a great cast of people in the camera department that were just hilarious guys that just had a blast being together, being on set.
You can have like a whole section of camera crew DVD.
We were bullshitting, we just blew a takedown on the second unit.
But see, we're against second unit, so what we did was just we're fighting them, see?
Yeah, we're not playing. We're not real good team players, dog.
First unit right here.
Hey, second unit has the nicest ass here, all right? You know what I'm saying?
So I chose to do the entire movie on Steadicam, and it challenged my operator, BJ, immensely. And Adam came up with one shot he wanted to get in one take.
BJ has to be holding this Steadicam on some people, walking backwards to get the next one, forwards again. And I think we shot that almost 12 times before we got it right. And if you knew what it was like to hold one of those Steadicams and walk backwards up a hill that many times, I mean, all night long he did it. And everyone felt bad for him to the point where I was like, why don't we just change this?
Let's do it again. Let's go.
Okay.
We going again, guys?
Okay, we're gonna go again?
And he's like, no, this is what you want, right? This is what, yo, dog, we'll get a dog. I'll drop kick that shit if you say you're not gonna do this. And he got it. And it's one of the cooler shots in the movie.
Cut! Yeah!
I'd take people aside and tell them what a great job they're doing, because it wasn't like a big budget movie, so it was very critical that the lights went in the place that they would do the most work, because we didn't have very many of them. So it was really, really challenging to work that way.
And it was difficult, and we did have difficult conditions in trying to create a swamp in Los Angeles.
Brian McBrien is a genius, and the stuff he can do, especially with greens. I mean, we shot this whole movie in the desert, and it looks like you're really in a New Orleans swamp.
I'd get to the ranch in the morning at like 6 or 7 with my crew, prep, build, do whatever else, changeovers for sets, and then I'd hang out with production until maybe 11 or 11:30 at night, and then finally go home, try and get a little bit of rest, and then come back and do it again. So it was a wild ride.
I mean, we shot a swamp movie in the desert. So that's the first thing. And, so that means it's really hot during the day, really cold at night, and then we shot the whole movie at night for night, the whole time. We were on nights.
It's a tornado!
Can someone cue the rain, please?
We got rained on in buckets last night, and it set us back in a number of ways.
And of course, every night I'm ripping pages out of the script. I'm not getting to do things the way I really wanted to. But you any movies like that, you just got to get it done.
Because of the time of year we were shooting this movie, we had to squeeze in an entire day of shooting into 8 hours instead of 10 every day.
And there was a couple moments where we had that, it was total panic when the sun was coming up.
Come on.
Ty, come on, what are we doing?
Shoot it now.
We gotta go.
Hurry. Come on.
It was like my heart sank every time I heard that first bird in the morning. It'd be like, and then there'd be more, and then there'd be more birds, and then there'd be more birds, and it's still dark out, so we're still shooting, but I know it's coming. I know that sun's coming up.
This is a suicidal schedule, and we are doing it. So it's really like we shot the whole movie in like 14 days. And a lot of the stuff in Hatchet ended up being one take because we had no time. So it was just, okay, shoot it, moving on.
One of the hardest things for me as a cinematographer was there's one scene here where we have to light Kane Hodder on fire. And, he's a stuntman, he's used to that stuff, but it's always a very tricky thing when you're lighting guys on fire.
Then we stay on the 135 and you get like face and hands and bashing into the walls. Whatever you can get, he's going to be moving all over.
It's really not a difficult stunt to perform. As long as you're comfortable being on fire, it's just all in the preparation.
Light him. It looks good. Nice. Show us your face. Wait. Go.
And Joel was like, you gotta be kidding me. It's such a great scene. You can't tell me that I just burned this guy and now he gets put out by nature?
You gotta be fucking kidding me!
Oh, it's just a classic moment.
Cut! Check it! Oh, yeah!
After a good take, he would just get up and scream and yell and clap, and the energy level was always there. And I think that the crew felt like they were creating something special. It felt like people wanted to be there.
Yeah, this crew is unfucking believable, and this movie's 100 times better than it ever could have been because of this crew.
Along the way, he was obviously very emotional about things that he wanted, and he was very passionate about things, and there's no lack of passion in Adam Green, no doubt about it.
Yeah! Start again.
Cut! Yeah, I love you! Woo!
It's very draining to shoot long hours and to shoot all night is very draining on a cast, especially having to herd a big cast of people to go through a bunch of shit together is very hard. So we had just a great atmosphere the whole time, and a lot of that was our anchor.
There's a scene where Tamara Feldman needs to find Robert Englund and Josh Leonard dead in the shed. And I brought her up to where the shed was.
And all I had was this little tiny flashlight, and he's like, everything in here is real. Stay in here. Do not come out until I come and get you. I don't care how scared you get. I don't care what happens. Do not come out. Like, he would bring pictures of my brother and sit there and have me stare at them and look at them and tell me stories of, like, a vacation that me and my brother went on or how he used to pick on me and just, like, do this whole kind of backstory thing that was usually you do for yourself, but for him to do that was really special. The only thing I can see is what my flashlight is lighting up. So there's shit around me touching me and I don't know what it is, and I just started bawling.
We run up and we had the camera ready and the lights came on and she saw them dead, all splayed out there, and there's this carnage everywhere. And I'm like, all right, action, roll, and she just lost her shit. And Joel reacts, and you expect us to cut, and it just hangs on her for way too long while she's crying, and I still don't really know why, because the editor in me is like, oh, you should cut earlier there, but there's just something about it that works.
The producers did a good job in just delivering craft service and delivering heat lamps. All you need to make somebody happy is coffee, craft service, and heat lamps, and we're okay. Because half of the time we're wet. And so we just run over to a heat lamp. Not all of us. I was a man, and I stuck through it. No, I was the first one over there. This is the first day for us, and we're freezing already. We're wussies.
Deon did not like to get wet.
Oh, they look...
Oh, people, Deon!
And he would make everybody stand in front of him. He would make everybody go first before he would get wet. I love that.
I broke my rule today. I got wet first. Shouldn't have done that.
Deon wore a wetsuit, in which I didn't.
I've never worn a wetsuit, so I'm like, what does that do for you? They're like, it keeps you warm, you know? And I'm like, I'll wear it. And everyone's like, no, I don't want to look fat. Fuck fat. Fuck fat. I don't want to look cold.
I'm calling him out right now. He wore a wetsuit, and I didn't.
I'm not going to say any names, but you had men say, I don't want to look fat.
And I got a cold, because he's smarter than I am.
If I look fat in the movies, because I'm warm.
Yeah, joke's on me.
Oh. Double team. That was a double team. I didn't see that coming.
Adam, I've been with him now the first 2 nights of shooting, and he gets it. And I think the crew likes that, and they feel like they can contribute a little bit of humor here and then when we're wading around in the muck and the mud and, putting, bloody, dismembered organs and dead alligators and things around on the set. You have to be a little loosey-goosey and have a sense of humor about that. And Adam certainly is running the ship that way. And I think he's got a long shoot ahead of him because we're all knights, but I think he's steering correctly.
Scare bus, no boobs in here yet. Scare bus.
Come on, guys, sing along.
Rolling. It's good. It was a twig.
Set. It is a fake gun. It's rubber. It will not fire. We do have a gun on set. It is a rubber gun. It's not real. Okay, it's a rubber gun. Just rubber bullets.
Rubber. Worst AD I've ever seen in my life, man.
Worst director I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, I only got about 2 of those.
Now is the winter of our discontent.
Fists will be thrown before this is over.
Could very well happen.
It made it kind of hard to be serious some of the times because we would start joking so much.
So I'm going to give this this show a little bit of quality, a little bit of intelligence here. So come on board with me. Everybody yell poop and pee! Poop and pee! Yeah!
That was some real civil rights shit. I'm in a tree and you hit me with a hose.
We had Patrika cracking up and telling nasty jokes, and when you can get a classy guy like that to be able to stoop down to our humor, you know something's wrong.
So to keep things interesting on the set, we had all these little themes during the shoot, and one of them, Sarah Elbert came up with Mustache Day, which was, we were all pretty scruffy from a tough couple weeks of shooting.
I'm digging all the mustaches, and I really enjoyed the camaraderie of the crew. It's been great.
Because nobody was going out in the real world anyway while we were shooting this film. We were just we were secluded and in the middle of nowhere.
The camera department had helmet day once, and it was just them. But they had helmet day one day.
Where's fucking Lewis at with his badass helmet?
USC guys.
Lewis. You gotta get Lewis's helmet's the shit.
We kind of all did little jobs along the way. Once we got settled and we knew what we were doing, we could kind of play a little bit, which was really fun.
Mark. Rubber gun does not work.
Rubber gun on set.
It is rubber, it cannot fire, it will not fire. Wow. Beat you to it.
You gotta learn how to feather your fingers with it. Kind of just touch it. Yeah, it should sit.
And action.
And action!
Today I was given the camera to do my own little documentary. I had people give me 3 words for what their experience was like on set here. Mercedes McNab never gave me the damn words. Come on, 3 words, 3 words, 3 words. I need your 3 words. Give me 3 words. 3 words. 3 words. Give them to me.
No.
Give them to me. 3 words.
Cocksucker, motherfucker, go away.
That's more than 3.
The film is filled with with people involved with the project. Some shots in Bourbon Street. There's our first AD ends up passed out on the street in the beginning during the credits. The film's executive producers are in the crowd, you know, throwing beads and stuff.
John Gross, who shot all the behind-the-scenes footage, is one of the drunk guys in the gang at the beginning of the movie.
And he's the best part of that whole scene.
You threw up 6 times yesterday. How do you even do that?
I wish I had picked that one as my cameo instead of the guy who actually has a line. What, so you can sit in your room and cry about Heather?
My Steadicam operator runs in front of the scare bus at one time. He jumps out of the way of the scare bus. Sarah Elbert, one of the producers, I think is throwing up in front of a voodoo shop.
Lady. Oh, welcome to New Orleans, or at least the airport. This is probably the last clean place you'll see for the rest of this trip.
So basically, what's happening right now is I'm wrapped for the day, but they need my professional bead throwing arm because I'm the only motherfucker that can reach up there. It's the way I throw. It's like a hook on it. It's like I don't know. But you'll notice all the beads that are actually making it there to the girls landing properly are all me. It's all technical. It's not just here to see boobs. Who wants to do that? I'm here for a reason. I actually got paid a bump for my arm.
All of a sudden, we're there, and we're shutting down Bourbon Street in New Orleans. That was crazy. And we're recreating Mardi Gras, and I just thought, oh, what are we doing? Are we really doing this? This is huge.
Adam 3, can you please report to camera? Adam 3.
Cameras, police cars everywhere, and Adam and I standing in the middle of the street shooting our movie. It was pretty amazing. We stopped many times, kind of looked over, just like this is messed up. I can't believe we're actually doing this. But it was amazing feeling to see the whole city shut down for us. And just walk out on the street and just be like, hey, look, I'm here. I'm shooting a movie.
I don't think we were supposed to get that much leeway on the streets of New Orleans, but we did, and it was really sticky and hot whenever we shot in the swamp. We shot up and down the streets and around neighborhoods.
It was just a skeleton crew that went down to New Orleans, where there's only a couple of us, and we had no gear. And the shot was basically what Adam wanted was he wanted the camera right on top of the water, and this boat was gonna be moving, and he just wanted to have the camera like just flying right over top of the water and panning back and forth, seeing things. And
to get that shot, BJ, my Steadicam operator, literally had his feet dangling in the water and the camera like an inch from the water's surface.
I just told him, I was like, look, man, I'll take my shoes off. I'll sit on this little pontoon and I'll put the camera as close to the water as I possibly can, and just have one of the grips hold me, right off the side of the boat. And the swamp, and this is all in New Orleans, so we're in the total swamp. There's real alligators. This is I think it was an alligator farm we were shooting at. When the boat was moving and we were doing the shot, it was fine. But as soon as they stopped the boat, they're used to coming up, and I guess people would feed them marshmallows.
Okay, throw a marshmallow down right in front of it. No, wrong way. Oh, sorry.
And that's the only way to keep the gators from coming towards me when we were reloading a mag or changing a lens or whatever.
Punch it!
Now he was like this far, man. He's looking at your toes, dude.
This is kind of freaky. I was waiting for that Jaws moment of the one gator underneath me just coming up and grabbing me and pulling me down. So it was pretty wild. But we got the shot and it was cool.
Okay, everybody, I have an announcement to make. That is a picture wrap on Hatchet!
I feel good. I'm going through the bayou in New Orleans or in Louisiana. Yep.
We had a great crew, we had a great time, but we got it all done and we got the movie made, and we made a good movie.
Until that shitty director screws it all up in editing.
In finishing the movie, there were a lot of challenges even after the shoot that we've all been involved with. So you have you have pre-production, production, post-production.
So you saw the movie unfolding as you were there every day, from scene to scene.
And there was all kinds of debate over the music cue when the bus is driving through New Orleans.
We wanted to lull the audience sort of into a false sense of like, this is going to be a fun adventure, and sort of like everybody on the scare bus, like the Primatios and everybody were, it was all bright-eyed and, wonderment and like, wow, we're in New Orleans and gosh, this is going to be fun and we're going to see some ghosts, ooh.
And it's my favorite music cue in the movie. I would never take it out in a million years. And that's exactly what I told Andy to do. And at this time that we're doing this interview, I still have no idea what's going to happen with the theatrical release. But it doesn't matter at this point. We made it and we did it, and we think it's a good movie, so we're proud.
I find the best experience that I've had are on lower budget or / independent films.
It's been really a blast. It's an incredible group of people, both the cast and the crew, and it's been just a lot of fun.
I've been a little cold, a little wet, a little cold, a little wet.
Have you enjoyed getting wet?
Hey, yo. I couldn't have asked for a better cast to work with.
It's been a kick. We had a great time.
It's been amazing. It's been terrifying.
It's not just another Gator movie.
I thought we were making a romantic comedy. And they pulled the blood out.
Probably the most enjoyable movie I've done for a variety of reasons.
Couldn't have been better. There's no point. Actually, I'm afraid it never will be better.
That is very scary.
What if this is the pinnacle for all of us? What if it never gets better than this? So everyone's just gonna have to come back for Hatchet 2.
People really weren't getting paid all that much. It was a low-budget movie, and people didn't want to leave. We would wrap production, and they would want to all go hang out together, and they wouldn't want to go home. They really felt like people felt like they were creating something special, and they were happy to be there.
As hard as it was such a blast. I mean, it was the most incredibly grueling 28 days that I've ever had to endure. but I'm also so happy that I did it. Because it's just such a wonderful experience. The people that I met, I still am really close to.
And every day that I pulled up and I saw all those trailers lined up, and these huge cameras and cranes and sets being built, and just was like, this is our movie, this is for us. I'm not an extra here. I'm not an assistant on set. This was our movie, and it was incredible.
If you have the right people, you can do anything with your friends, and you can do anything if you really believe in it.
These are his woods.
Whose woods?
Victor Crowley.
Victor Crowley. Hatchet face.
Victor Crowley!
We haven't had a villain in so long. A monster that you both fear and cheer for. And that was really what I was going for. I wanted to see a monster. I wanted it to be real.
we weren't able to meet Victor Crowley. We weren't able to actually meet the man behind the mask.
In the movie, you're really seeing them see him for the first time on camera. Every reaction is very real. They hadn't already done it 50 times. They hadn't already seen him a bunch of times. Every time they saw him, it was really like the first time they saw him. And this is one of Kane's big things, too, is he doesn't want them constantly seeing him in the makeup because you get used to it and you can start to see what's really his skin and what isn't. And I mean, ultimately you're looking at a guy in a rubber suit. So he didn't want them to see him at all. So there was always this secret thing of where Kane was on set. He would stay covered up. He had this like big jacket with like a face mask, so he would come and coordinate the stunt, but they couldn't see what he looked like.
I'm wearing a big coat with a hood on and visor down so you can't see anything. It wasn't because of being cold, it was because we wanted to keep the look of Victor a little bit kept away from the actors until they were on camera.
I think Kane, from experience, knew how to get us going a little bit. And I think he wanted to make sure that our first reaction would be honest and pure, and we could get it and, you know, hold that forever on film.
And the first night that the cast was going to see him, it's actually the shot where Ben and Mary Beth and Marcus come running around a mausoleum in the cemetery, and Victor Crowley jumps out and starts waving the hatchet in front of them.
Thank God.
They knew I was going to be there, but they had not yet seen what I looked like in the makeup.
They had it all built up in their heads, and they're on one side of the mausoleum, and Kane is on the other side. And we planned this whole thing, and I said, okay, and pictures up.
Pictures up.
And then I just was silent for a little while, and Kane, to get into character, just starts like kicking the mausoleum and screaming and like these like guttural like grunts. It was scaring me, and like I wasn't even in the scene.
So we're standing on the other side, and I'm like shaking, terrified. And then they said action, and I ran up there and tried to hit the mark. I was so scared, I lost it. I couldn't hit the mark.
Run, Karen, run! This one here, she can't take it. She didn't know what to do.
I couldn't step on my mark. I was like a mile behind my mark. I was exhausted by the time we were done because I was so scared of him.
I think I'm getting an ulcer. I'm a nervous wreck with him around. I have to keep him in the corner of my eye at all times. Or if I don't know where he is,
feel like he's
scared.
Yeah, because when the scene ends, he doesn't stop.
Yeah, no.
No, he'll chase us.
And you could run anywhere you wanted, but he'd chase you.
Stop! This is useless. He's just gonna keep coming for us till we're all dead.
He would always chase us after they yelled cut. So I would run straight to the producer's tent because I knew he wouldn't go in there. I'd go get behind the monitors.
Cut!
And so the rest of us hadn't seen him yet, so we were asking him, so what's he like, and trying to get some tidbits.
We've heard horror stories from the other cast members that have met him, and now it's our turn, and so we're freaking out.
I was next to Mercedes at the time, and she's just grabbing onto my arm, and we know that this is the moment when Adam calls action that we're about to see Victor Crowley for the first time.
And I swear to God, Mercedes and Joleigh start crying. It was so awful. Like, they were so scared. They kind of like, they took the step back every time he would scream.
And she's like grabbing me so hard, like her nails are digging in, and that's really causing more pain than anything else.
That was just terrifying in the beginning. My stomach like dropped in my, I couldn't even try to, like I couldn't even really scream the first take. I lost my voice.
I'm on the ground, so I'm just coming. Get it down.
It's all this anticipation. We hear like something's breathing down our neck behind us.
So, I mean, yeah, thanks, Kane. You got a good reaction out of me.
Kane was constantly pulling pranks, and then I was doing it to them too. That first cemetery scene that we shot, Kane has to throw the hatchet at Joel, and it's supposed to come right by his face, and Joel's just supposed to lean out of the way. And we planned all of this. And I started an argument with Kane where Joel could still hear us, but he couldn't see Kane. And I said, well, if the rubber hatchet's broken, we can't do this.
I said, don't worry about it. I've been doing this a long time. I'll make sure I miss him. And meanwhile, Joel is hearing all this.
Adam, the hatchet will be thrown this time?
The hatchet will be thrown.
Thinking, he's going to throw a real hatchet at me? Well, you know, he doesn't even trust me anyway, because he thinks I'm half nuts.
Finally, I'm like, you know what? We don't have time for this. Just throw the hatchet at him. I don't care anymore. And I go back to my spot. I'm like, all right, everybody back to one. And Joel's just going, wait a minute, time. Do I get a say in this?
I'm thinking, he is a stunt coordinator. He would go through this with me.
And Kane throws the hatchet and purposely hits him right in the leg with it. And it's the rubber hatchet.
Cut!
Joel actually started to limp and run away. Like, he believed that it was the real one so much.
It literally took me through the first take to realize that.
It was fun for Adam and myself, because of course I'm not going to throw a real hatchet at an actor, but you know, if we pretend we did, then it's just as effective.
I've never been so gullible in my life. That was so ridiculous.
So we did something to everybody at least once. And then Mercedes actually made the mistake of complaining one night that Kane never pulled any pranks on her and he never got her. And Joel had a camera that night and he went into Mercedes' trailer with her and he was interviewing her about the movie.
That's awesome. Okay, we'll just start out. And I asked her about what her favorite Victor Crowley moment is. What was your favorite Victor Crowley moment?
Probably the first time I saw him. God damn it!
And she proverbially shit herself. She shit herself. It was so funny.
Oh shit, she went crazy. Yeah, you could.
I just fell out of my trailer so fast that I don't even know what happened, basically.
How you feel?
So mean. So there's never a safe moment. You never knew when somebody was gonna scare you.
So it was like the perfect scenario to get actual scares. Adam, you could just see Adam like giddy, like a little school girl. He's so happy that all of this is going on.
Cut! Yeah! We got it!
That's what gave them those good performances, because he was constantly challenging them.
I still think they're not totally comfortable around me, but that's good.
This is sort of a movie that is sort of the kills are so over the top that it's more like, oh man, did you see that?
Everybody who worked on the movie definitely has their own favorite kill. I don't think anybody has the same favorite one.
Favorite kills.
Rip a guy's arms off and then slam him armless, slam his head into a mausoleum.
The split jaw, split face, tearing in half.
He grabs her teeth, and he pops her head open.
His head gets pulled completely off and is hanging by the skin, and then it just bobs there.
The power sander to the face, obviously.
People People want to see cool deaths that they haven't seen before. And that's part of the fun in writing them, is you'll just sit there and look around and think, okay, what could I kill somebody with that I haven't seen somebody get killed with before? I wrote in the script that Victor Crowley puts the belt sander into Jenna's mouth and sands out her jaw.
Given the over-the-top nature of the movie, of course you need a gas-powered sander out in the middle of nowhere. A chainsaw would have been passé.
We went through all the kind of like methodology, I guess, of killing and sanding this person's face off. And, you know, when it came down to it, they don't actually have gas-powered sanders. That's just not even a plausible tool.
And right before we were going to shoot, I got cold feet on that. And I said, this is kind of ridiculous because you'd have to plug in a belt sander. What does he have, an extension cord running? And the production designer said, if I can build a gas-powered belt sander that could function in real life, that means it could exist, then will you do it?
I think that's I earned the name from the AD staff as MacGyver or something that night, because I think I used it was a Sharpie marker to attach. I mean, I was just like pulling crap out of toolkits, whatever I could, tubing, metal. I mean, it was just like, you know, slap it together and get it done. The first 5 don't work, of course, and then we get one that looks okay, and finally the one where the smoke pumps out, and we're like, got it, all right, shoot it.
Sure enough, McBrien showed up, and there's the gas canister on it, and it works.
Oh no, there you go. That's pretty believable right there.
Pretty good, actually, yeah.
Nobody's done this before, so yeah, you got to do it. The thing that I'm proudest of with that particular illusion is that I was able to sculpt a face that went on top of her face that was slightly off, so that as her upper lip was here and her teeth were here, her chin was already down here, and I could really disguise all of this as torn, shredded viscera. So the illusion was created simply by the actress moving around.
The makeup was fantastic because it was like, it was very, very realistic. So you just see the top half of this face and the rest is just gore and blood, and you're just like, oh, that's so cool.
It's horrible. It's a disturbing death. My mother's not gonna like it. And it's the best death scene in the movie.
You need really good kills in it. And, you know, if they're weak sauce, then, you know, obviously the fans aren't going to be happy. And I think that Hatchet certainly delivers on the kills.
We tried not to do any that were just generic that you've seen before. It's not just that you want to see people die, it's the magic and the creativity with how these deaths are executed.
We did everything in camera. There was no CG or anything. We did everything live on the set, you know, with the rubber and the latex and all that.
It was really great because it was latex, because it was something practical that you could touch.
In a horror film where you remove the gore or the kill, you remove the punchline. And Hatchet really gave me the opportunity to really have fun with the makeup effects and the gore.
It's going to work.
And the 90s kind of brought on this whole like CG thing where everything was very cartoony and it looked really fake. But I was always more into the like Tom Savini stuff and the John Carl Buechler stuff from the 80s. Oh, then PG-13 horror? The fuck was that? How's it a horror movie if it's PG-13? Like, if I'm not gonna see some nudity and some gore, like, don't waste my time. So when he's done, the body's severed there.
Falls away.
He throws it, sees that she's running, getting away, and takes off after her.
Before we shot, I made a life cast, which was where you go into a studio and they make a mold of you as plaster.
So on the bright side of things, at least your death is off camera, so you don't need to go through that. So if you look at it that way. And I guess another consolation is Kane has it worse.
That was really terrifying in itself because I get very claustrophobic. When they're putting plaster on your face and it's like literally one by one patch of your skin by one patch, they're closing your breathing off. So like that's like basically being buried alive.
Oh God, that's cold.
Bye.
Is there any way to get a little like heat with it?
It'll help the expression.
And it's cold. No one cares. And they're moving fast and they're talking and you're like, oh man. Even someone will even hold your hand if you need it. They'll do anything they can, but they gotta get the cast made.
I feel like I'm on Fear Factor.
lot of money to make it look creepy and bloody. But damn, it was worth it.
A copious amount of blood was used on Hatchet.
It tastes good.
I'm a gorehound. I love seeing the red stuff. My friends make fun of me for it all the time.
I couldn't hazard a guess, but gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons.
Certainly one of the challenges on the movie was to keep the lens clean of the blood splattering into it. Because if you watch Mr. Primadio's death, there is blood literally spraying out of him, just spraying out of him. We would literally wrap the cameras in plastic and just hunker down and it was just soaked us down with blood.
There was probably 4 or 5 different departments on set that had blood.
It got to the point where it was like, you could be like a transpo guy and you had like a bag of blood with you, just in case, just in case y'all don't have enough. It's like everyone was hitting you with blood.
There was the blood that the special effects makeup crew would use for maybe the prosthetics, pieces that they would put on the actor. And then there was the blood they would pump through like some horrible tube when something was cut off or got ripped off. And then there would be the blood that wardrobe would put on the clothes, and then there was the blood that the makeup crew would use on just their faces. And then props would have blood just to fling everywhere.
But I actually
not just the makeup people, it's like anybody would come up, one of the grips. Yeah, get a little more blood on your shoulder, bro. Like, thank you, man, I'm cool. Yeah, thanks. It was crazy.
Victor Crowley himself was certainly something of a challenge.
So I was 8 years old when I thought of this. So this is 20 years later.
Yeah.
And we got these dudes doing it.
Yeah,
it's,
I know.
It's pretty fucking crazy. So John Buechler said, we need to make up a little boy to be deformed. So he said, do you know any like women with, small features? And I was thinking, and I had been the DJ at the Rainbow, and the hostess, who was kind of a friend of mine, named Riley, I knew she was a makeup artist. So I'm like, maybe she wouldn't mind. And she said, sure, that sounds good. So she came in, and they made Riley up as young Victor Crowley, and they just did the face, because that was the pictures we were taking. And she's walking around the shop with this elephant man deformed face, and then this like little tank top and shorts, and the whole time I'm like, and it was really confusing. 3 years later, she's my girlfriend and we live together, and I'm dating Victor Crowley. It's really fucked up.
I had the opportunity again to work with Kane Hodder, whom I had directed in Friday the 13th, Part 7, and now I was going to create a new character, hopefully that will not just rival but surpass Jason.
So he designs the look of Victor.
Well, I mean, my favorite part of the suit is the spine thing.
When he's sloping back and the hair pieces are in place, I think it's going to be pretty like Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. Adam had a very clear vision of what he wanted to do with Victor.
The spine comes out and is like twisted, almost like this monster thing where he looks like he's hunched over. I love it. I can't believe how real that looks.
And I think I saw what he wanted, and it was great.
And then we did a makeup test to see how it would look on me.
When you put it around his mouth, make sure that you pull it taut on the upper part. Using makeup techniques, we glued it on him and painted him up and put on hair pieces and stuck in his dentures, and there was Victor.
Victor Crowley's such a good character, and of course that's the type of stuff that makes the audience go from being squeamish to actually clapping and cheering, because it's just so ridiculously violent that it's fun.
There's a moment in the film where Victor grabs a lady by her lower jaw and her upper bridge and pops her open like a big Pez dispenser.
The pop top, we call it, has always been like not only one of my favorite shots in the movie, but one of my favorite special effects too.
I started thinking, how could you possibly run after a real actress and grab her by the mouth and rip her head in half and not cut away and not use CG?
Hi, Brittany.
Brittany's the model for all the deaths.
Why do you have a Britney Spears doll? That's my question.
Because you gave it to me for Christmas. And I don't know why you gave it to me, but I felt bad throwing out your Christmas gift because you might come over and look for it. Okay. She runs towards the camera and then is going to stop because he's going to grab her. He's going to, let me, where's Gene Simmons? All right, so Gene Simmons is Victor Crowley.
Okay.
And he runs, all right, so he's going to grab her like that. So she's like, oh my God, help me. And then he comes running and grabs her by the head like that.
And then the camera
spins around.
It's going to move around this way.
And in his back
really
is
close.
where we're going to do the cut. So when we come back around, it's now the dummy. And
then she pops his head from over here. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Victor Crowley rock and rolls all night and parties every day.
We would also act it out in the office. We'd act out how, like, you know, the whole Mrs. Permadio is a great kill in the movie. And we literally would, like, act it out.
And as soon as he grabs her, he reaches for her head. That's when the camera goes completely around him. And he comes back.
But it's so fun to work like that. When it came time for work on the set, it's so brilliant to have a DP director team that are close to work because we work very fast and very efficient because I know what Adam's going to need, what he's going to want before he really asks for it.
And have her whole head come back, and then the tongue like tries to find the rest of its head.
That's what I heard of the tongue.
Yeah. Out of the mind of Adam Green.
That's awesome.
So,
He's twisted. His dreams, so vivid.
His dreams are vivid and very bad.
Very, very bad.
And it was also Adam's intention to create these effects in a very seamless manner, utilizing camera movement and not one frame of CGI to cheat. And that's a wonderful challenge. That meant to create an artifact of the lady who could be popped apart in that regard. So obviously we had to do a live cast of her from the waist up and recreate her as realistically as possible, and also create a skull element and enough viscera on the inside, enough hoses to pump to create the illusion of ripping, shredding flesh and blood splurting everywhere.
Here, him putting his hands in your mouth.
It's actually down here.
Around his back. Behind his back is where we had the cut. To switch over to the dummy of pulling the head apart.
So my head is going to always stay this way. I'm not turning with.
Yeah, you never turn with it. Kane had to run after her, grab her by the back of the head, pull her hair back, and then stick his hands in her mouth and rip her face open. And she just went for it, and she didn't complain that she's got this guy with dirt and everything, like sticking his hands in her mouth. And even Kane was a little like taken aback by it. He's like, she just has no fear. She's just going for it. And she's a professional actress. That's what she does. She gets in the character and she does her job.
That's probably some of the most fun to do as an entertainer is to make somebody's words come alive and create that picture for them.
It was so stressful that night. We only had 2 chances at that we were sweating and worried, and if this didn't come off, then we had to be perfect.
He's got to get back up the wall a little bit at the end. We just got to make sure that he pushes back up against that wall, this side. We're there.
Remember, at the end, we'll never be this.
Nope.
So that one was very time consuming. So I think as a producer, I don't like that one so much, being that I think that one caused us some problems.
So is this the same head but repaired?
No, it's a different head.
But it was had to be so well orchestrated that everything ran in perfectly that it was like a blocking ballet to make it happen.
Hold on, let's just frame it up.
He's got it.
Will you just show him one more time?
Rehearsing and action.
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going around, Beach. Keep going around.
You want to come all the way here?
Yeah. Even more. There. That's it.
Between me grabbing the actress, starting to pull her mouth apart, then the camera swings around, and then I rip the prosthetic head apart. You don't really see the cut, which is fantastic.
But the whole time, the camera has to go from behind the monster completely around the set, and then back to the beginning again. And, you know, it's sort of a secret way that we go from the live action to the latex model. And the result on the film is spectacular.
Action! And cut!
Cut.
Check it!
That one's my favorite kill. It's hard to pick.
Pretty much my whole life happened when I was 8. I think I saw my first real horror movie. I went to summer camp. I saw E.T., which was the movie that made me really want to make movies. And my grandmother said, I'm going to get you a boombox and a cassette tape because you should start listening to music. She's like, what band do you want? And I looked at the TV, and the Twisted Sister video for We're Not Gonna Take It was on. And I was captivated by it. And so she bought me this Twisted Sister tape, and I listened to it until you couldn't play it anymore. In 4th grade, we had to do a report on the most influential person in our life. And everybody in the class got up and they did their mom or their dad. And I get up there with this doll, Dee Snider, and the makeup and holding the bone. And the teacher said, sit down, you're trying to be funny. And I said, I'm not trying to be funny, let me finish. And I did my report, and I talked about how this man doesn't do drugs, he's not an alcoholic, he sings songs about self-empowerment and how you can do anything that you set your mind to. He married his first girlfriend, he's a good father, and this is everything that I want to be. And I got my first A+. So it was my last A+ too, I think. And college comes around, and I'm at Hofstra University on Long Island, and I hear that Dee Snider has a new band playing called Widowmaker that's playing in Providence, Rhode Island. So I get in the car and I drive all the way there, and I hand wrote this 4-page letter to him thanking him for what a positive influence he was in my life. And I was the singer in a band at the time, and I'm telling him how I'm gonna make movies and all this stuff, and it's all because of him.
It was at a real out-of-the-way show. My band Widowmaker was playing. There wasn't a lot of people there, and in those days, it wasn't as it wasn't that typical to have some kid come up all excited before the show with a letter in his hands.
And I got there 4 hours before the concert started, and I pressed myself up against the front door so I could be the first one in, and I could throw this letter on the stage, and just maybe someone would give it to him. And while I'm pressed against the front door, I see this mop of long blonde hair reflected in the glass walking by behind me, and I turn around, and it's him. And I'm freaking out. I hand him the letter, and he promised me that he would read it, and I go into the show. And when he came out, it's like he's just playing for me. And I'm thinking it's never gonna get better than this.
Don't answer a lot of mail. I get a lot. I try to not read it. The reason I try to not read it is because I feel guilty, and I can't. Once I've read it, it's reached me, and now I have to answer it. And I'm doing so many things. It's very difficult for me to find the time to respond to the mail. Adam took the direct approach and hunted me down like an animal and handed me the letter.
And so 3 months later, I'm at college, and my mom calls, and she says, you got a letter here. I think you want me to open it. I'm like, who's it from? She said, it's from Dee Snider. I'm like, open it. So the letter said, I touched your life, now you touched mine. Thank you so much for your letter. I've been through so much in my career of doing this, and the fact that you saw through the makeup and the bullshit, really makes it all worth it. And someday I'm gonna see you on the red carpet at some Hollywood bigwig party.
I've written response letters to people very few times. And usually when it's something where they've somehow managed to get me the letter, but also there was something in the letter that said this was somebody who I've really reached out, I've touched in some fashion, and I should respond to them because this is important to them. It's not just, I love you, man, I love you, man, I love you, man. It's something more, and Adam's letter clearly was something more.
And I framed the letter and I put it over my computer where it still is to this day, and whenever I write, I have that letter there. So I get out of college and I get a job directing the worst local cable commercials that you've ever seen. And my very first day working there, they paired me up with Will Barrett. And I looked at him and I said, "You're not gonna do this forever, are you?" And that was the very first thing I said to him. And he was just like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "We could steal this equipment and we could make our own stuff and we could get out of here." And we made this movie called Columbus Day Weekend, where Jason and Michael Myers stalk the same campsite by mistake, and then they're gay for each other. And then I got an email from a guy. He's like, "I went to high school with you. I pushed the mail cart here. There's a bunch of agents laughing at a short film. I saw that it was you." He's like, "Why don't you come out here and meet everybody?" So I come out. I didn't really end up meeting with anybody. And I'm standing on the Sunset Strip because I wanted to see the rainbow and the whiskey and all these places I'd heard of. And I'm thinking, Hollywood fucking sucks. And no, I flew all the way out here and nobody even talked to me. And except for my friend, obviously, who was great. But I'm never coming back here and I don't want to do this anymore. And I look up and there's this sign on Tower Records that says, "Tonight at 7, Get Twisted with Dee Snider signing copies of his movie Strangeland." I'm like, this is a message from God.
I see someone like Adam who's clearly in distress over how things were going wrong for him. I did what, if you see a person laying on the ground dying and needs mouth-to-mouth, you give him mouth-to-mouth, and this fan needed the equivalent of mouth-to-mouth from Dee.
And I went home and I started making this feature. So Will and I are making coffee and donuts with our friends, 3 lights, a video camera, and pizza boxes for flags.
That's a great idea. That's almost as good an idea as when you bought that Chumbawamba CD and told everyone they were going to be the next Pink Floyd. That was you! Whatever! The last time we gave away $500, my friggin' grandmother won it. God knows what she did with it.
Halfway through shooting coffee and donuts, my boss kind of sat me down. He's like, "You can't touch the equipment anymore, it's over." I was like, all right, that's it. I have half a movie shot. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. And that night I went to see Poison, and I'm walking past the backstage area and I hear all these kids yelling "D." So I wave to him, he pulls me over, he says, "How's your movie coming?" I said, "It's not good."
When people reach out to me, if there's some way that I can help them, to encourage them, try and give you a pep talk to pick you up and keep going.
And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what you're gonna do. You're gonna keep stealing the equipment." I finished Coffee and Donuts for $400. And then after years of struggling with it out here, Hatchet has been shot, and we find out that it got into the Tribeca Film Festival. So I emailed Dee, I told him that I made Hatchet, that we got into the Tribeca Film Festival. It was this big premiere, and I did it, and I made it, and it's all because of him, and I left my contact information.
Well, I picked up the phone, and I called Adam, and it's Dee, and, I said, "So, how many people can I put on the list?" And he said, "You're gonna come to the film festival?" I said, "We gotta make the prophecy come true."
And this big gray limo pulls up out front, and he gets out with his whole family and walks me down the red carpet to my first premiere. We're actually working on a project together based on that story, and he has his own side to this whole story.
What Adam didn't find out till afterwards was that these were some of the darkest times of my life. I mean, he saw me as a big rock star walking out of the building. I was driving the van from city to city. I was broke. I could not have been in a worse place, struggling to come back from a fall with my band Twisted Sister. So as I'm giving him this pep talk, I think at the same time, oddly, I'm reflecting and reminding myself that I had to keep going too.
He's probably one of my closer friends now. Now we talk all the time.
We bounce ideas off each other. We call each other for counsel, and like I said, we've become friends, and it's pretty cool.
All because my grandmother bought me a Twisted Sister tape when I was 8 years old.
You don't have any cash?
No, I'm just not paying for this bullshit.
Can I get one of the voodoo demon babies, too?
Voodoo demon
Can I also buy Marcus a new attitude? Thank you. That's a cool coat. Were you in the army? Did you rip those jeans yourself, or was your boyfriend working tonight? I had a cat that had two names once. Axel Rose. It was W Axel. Well, W is actually just a letter, so it was Axel Rose. So you a fan of 50 Cent? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you live around here? Like, what's your address? Hatchet face is gonna get you!
What kind of movie is it?
Well, have you ever heard of Spring Break Girls?
Sure.
No.
Have you ever heard of Peekaboobs?
Sure.
No.
Well, have you ever heard of Tits Ahoy?
Sure.
No.
Have you ever heard of Bayou Beauties?
Sure.
No.
Have you ever heard of Cajun Catholic Girls?
Sure.
No.
Hold on, I can get a better one.
So he didn't really work for Peekaboobs? So he didn't really work for So he didn't really work for Bayou Beavers?
No.
So he didn't really work for So he didn't really work for Cajun Catholic Girls?
Oh my god. Fuck!
I am so psyched I did this.
Those beat-ass kicks.
What?
It's about as classic as those
Too
beat-ass-
late.
What?
That's way too late.
That penis pump you bought.
What?
It's about as classic as that
That's
penis.
too late.
Your Buick Regal.
What?
It's about as classic as your Buick.
Oh no, that's too late.
Why?
Too late, man.
That fade you had in high school.
What?
It's about as classic as that fade
Too
you
late.
Why?
You still on classic?
Good. Good. You know, so-so. Well,
All right, Jack.
All right.
Take it easy, man.
Take care, crazy guy that's only in the script for expositional purposes.
What the hell is that?
Come on, let's keep this professional. Stop.
Shut up,
Oh, God.